Week 2, got a lot to talk about, and I got my guy Ink Raven on the channel to help me break down the Dolphins-Ravens game. What is up, Fin fans? Week 2 of the NFL season is here. This Sunday, the Miami Dolphins are heading to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Big game. I got my guy Ink Raven on here. He's going to help me break it down, give us a little inside source on Lamar Jackson, on the Baltimore Ravens, on their injuries. He actually gives us some really good inside sources on the injury aspect of it. Then we will get into our injury report, the 5 things, and I will tell you who and what I think is going to happen in this game. So without further ado, let's jump to my interview with Ink Raven and see what he had to say. All right, Dolphins taking on the Ravens. I got to get my guy Ink Raven in here. I got to pick his brain. Bud, how you doing? It's been about a year since I talked to you.
Yeah. Right before the Dolphins.
It was a good game for us. It was a good game for us.
Yeah, right before that game last year, we linked up. So, hopefully this will be a different outcome. It's in a different atmosphere. Last year was in Miami. I wish it would have been in Miami again this year because I would have wanted to go, but it's all good. It's up in Baltimore, and it should be fun. It should be fun, man.
So you guys are dealing with some injuries. That's the first thing I kind of want to pick your brain on. Fuller and then Juwan James going down.
Right.
Is that something you're nervous about? Is that something that the Dolphins should be focusing on, or is it like kind of next man up? You're not so worried about the secondary and Juwan James.
It all just depends on the guys who are actually supposed to be in their spots. Because last week, Kyle Fuller was a starter. He's not supposed to be a starter. He was only a starter because Marcus Peters is coming back from injury from last year. Juwan James, he was a starter. He wasn't supposed to be a starter. He's only a starter because Ronnie Stanley is coming back from injury. Both of those guys, Ronnie Stanley and Marcus Peters, they practiced this week. So hopefully they'll play. It's not a definitive yes, anything like that, but hopefully they'll play. So yeah, I think it and then it'll be their first game back in about a year because Ronnie Stanley only played 1 game last year. Marcus Peters didn't play any games last year. So it'll be a big step regardless if they come back this game or not. So I would definitely think it'll be something that the Dolphins, they're going to be keeping an eye on that. So
sure.
Oh man.
So like you said, it's funny too because when the schedule came out and I made my record prediction, this was a game I actually picked the Dolphins to lose. For me, it's a revenge game for you guys. Do you think for the Ravens, they're looking back at Thursday of last year and thinking we need to get revenge because of what the Dolphins did to us?
Initially going into the season, I was like, no, it's a brand new season. That was last year, 2021. They had a bunch of injuries and whatever. That was last year. But when I listened to Lamar Jackson's presser from Thursday, from Wednesday, he spoke about just watching them, having watched a lot of film on the Dolphins. He was asked a question, and he talked about last year. He brought up last year, and he said that they just want to make things right. They want to fix what happened last year, and just really make sure they have an answer for everything that the Dolphins do. I think that it's kind of funny. Well, the game wasn't funny for me, but looking back at it, it's kind of funny because I feel like that was the week that everybody, casual fan or not, X's and O's fan or not, I feel like that was the week that every single body learned and discovered and got reminded of exactly what a cover zero blitz is. Because you did not hear the end of it for nothing. You kept hearing every single show on ESPN, NFL Network, And the thing is that Dolphins, they would show the cover zero, like they were going to rush everybody, but a lot of times they would just drop some people back and they would disguise it, and they did it in a beautiful way, and it obviously was plenty to stop Lamar and the Ravens offense. But that was the week, man. I got so tired of hearing that right. Cover zero blitz and whatnot. It's like, oh man, now with going into the game, that's everybody been talking
brought
about
back up. Yeah.
But it is still a good question, though, because it's like, all right, the Dolphins got to be feeling very confident because they're like, we stopped Lamar in that offense before. They weren't nothing special. Let's try to just do it again. But so it is up to Lamar and the Ravens offense, Greg Roman, Ravens offensive coordinator. It's up to them to make sure that they have a plan in place to counter what the Dolphins are going to do.
Yeah, and I can see them throwing some type of variation of it at you guys because it would be dumb for them just to, again, do zero blitz however many times they did it because you guys were ready for it. It's you'll throw quick slants, you'll have Lamar roll out, all that stuff. Last thing I'm going to ask you before I get your thoughts and prediction on the game, Lamar Jackson. We all see what's going on with you guys and Lamar. Dolphin fans, some of them are actually probably hoping and praying you guys don't pull it off because if Tua doesn't pan out, Lamar wants to come to Miami, from apparently everyone heard. What's your thoughts? Do you see Lamar staying in Baltimore? Do you see a contract getting done? What's your thoughts on that whole process?
Right now, I don't see a deal getting done.
Really?
I don't. Nope. I see them possibly tagging and trading Lamar next year. I'm not very confident in it. Reason being because apparently Lamar wants guaranteed money and high guaranteed money, like around Deshaun Watson or even maybe past Deshaun Watson type of guaranteed money. Steve Bisciotti, Ravens owner, he's already come out and said that Deshaun Watson pretty much messed everything up, and
seriously,
that the Browns, he wished the Browns would have never done that. So with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, if they couldn't come to an agreement now on a deal, and his price is as low as it's gonna get, the quarterback market is not gonna be like, oh, it's not gonna plummet. It's not gonna go down over the next year. It's only gonna go up. So if they couldn't come to an agreement and come to a deal now, then I just don't have confidence that all of a sudden a year later they're gonna be, oh, okay, well now we're willing to pay Lamar all that money. I don't see it. I would love to be wrong because I want Lamar Jackson to be the quarterback because it's like one of those things where if you have, it's been rough for the Ravens at the quarterback position overall. I know Joe Flacco, he did get the Super Bowl, which was great. But even in a lot of years, they're like Joe Flacco, he was a weird kind of quarterback. Yeah. Regular season, he was like, yeah, I get by, whatever. I do enough to get by. But then in the playoffs, he started picking it up and he was on fire. But Lamar Jackson, he's been very, very special in the regular season. And it's like when you got a guy like that, why would you want to start all over again? Yeah. I would hope the Ravens wouldn't want to start all over again. But right now, I'm not very confident that all of a sudden they're going to be like, all right, we're willing to meet you at whatever your number is now.
True. Well, that's going to be, if Tua falters and shows that he's not the guy, it's going to be a lot of, Dolphin fans going to be watching that situation.
Oh, yeah. I think not even just Dolphins fans. I think just Florida fans in general, minus the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the Bucks, that's another team to watch too. It's funny because I always say how timing, to me, timing is everything. It came out on Sunday morning that Lamar Jackson and that the Ravens offered him a deal, and I guess the NFLPA, they dropped some details of the apparent deal that was apparently offered that Lamar Jackson turned down. But then that same morning, just so happened to come out that, this is Tom Brady's expected to retire this year. This is expected to be his last year. So I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. I've already seen people like today. I saw it. They were placing like betting odds and whatever on Lamar Jackson being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. They already had him photoshopped in the Buccaneers jersey and all that. I'm like, come on, man. Like we've obviously seen him photoshopped in a Dolphins jersey.
Yeah.
That would be something, man. But I really do hope that the Ravens can figure this thing out. But I'm just honestly not confident in them too right now.
So last thing, who you got winning this game?
I think this is going to be a stressful, annoying game. Because it's like with the Dolphins, they have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill is always a problem. But Ravens, when they played the Chiefs last year, they pretty much held Tyreek Hill in check. But then when the Ravens played the Dolphins last year, Jalen Waddle was giving Marlon Humphrey trouble. Marlon Humphrey, I remember one play specifically where Jalen Waddle he pushed Marlon Humphrey out the way. It was like, move, man. So it's like, man, I wonder how they're going to take care of those guys because you got two guys that tackling is going to be so important because those are guys where if you don't tackle, and then even with the running backs too, you got Chase Edmonds, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
And then most of it's like Dolphins have so much speed, and it's like if you don't tackle somebody with speed, then if they break, they can take it to the house.
Yeah.
They can take a short gain into a long one. And even though I know Dolphins offense, they didn't go off like crazy last week against the Patriots. You don't want to be that team that gives them the spark. It's like, oh, okay, this is what all the Dolphins fans were waiting for. You don't want to be that team. But I think that the Ravens, they barely pull it out, maybe by like 2 or 3 points. I don't think it's going to be some blowout. I think it's going to be a stressful game, maybe like 28-25, something like that.
Okay. I could definitely see that happening. But thank you so much for stopping by, giving us Dolphin fans some insights. Where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. It's you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook too. Everything is Engraving Vids. It's Team Keep It Clean. It's a channel where it's family friendly, but we have a lot of fun on there. And fans of all team are welcome. Fans of all team, we talk a little trash here and there, but respectful trash, not anything too crazy, anything like that. We, like I said, we have a lot of fun on this, so everybody is welcome to come through. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll be talking soon.
You already know, man. Appreciate it.
Very, very happy to have Engraven on here. A good friend of mine. Go check him out if you haven't yet. He's very fair, unbiased take on not only the Baltimore Ravens, but also the NFL in general. Go check him out. But let's jump into the injury report. He mentioned some things that I would like to talk about. So let's first start with the Miami Dolphins. It changed a little bit. Again, I record these Thursday night. So some of the things changed. Didn't change for Sathan Carter, who is dealing with a concussion, and Austin Jackson, who's dealing with an ankle injury. I don't expect to see Austin Jackson out there for the game against the Baltimore Ravens. Then we have status change for Teron Armstead and Savon Ahmed from didn't participate to limited. The didn't participate on Wednesday for Teron Armstead. Next to him, it said toe / vet rest. So, but he was limited. Same with Tanner Conner, Xavier Howard, Xavier Howard's was a vet rest. Brendan Jones, Eric Rowe, Christian Wilkins popped in on there. Same thing with Xavier Howard and Brendan Jones with a hip and a back. But I'm pretty sure they're just resting them. Toe from Cedric Wilson Jr., he was limited for full participation from Greg Little. And then Melvin Ingram, again, he was a rest vet on Wednesday and not even on there now. Then we look at the Baltimore Ravens. Let's see, they didn't update theirs as of me recording this, but on Wednesday they had a didn't participate / rest, non-injury related from Calais Campbell and Justin Houston. Their fullback Patrick Ricard didn't participate. Limited for Travis Jones, Marcus Peters, James Porsche, Ronnie Staley, and Brandon Steffens. And J.K. Dobbins was a full participant. And if you remember from what Engraven had to say, the one to watch for is Ronnie Staley and Marcus Peters, because with the injury to Fuller, with the injury to Juwan James, those guys were essentially backups for Marcus Peters and Ronnie Staley to come in. So them being injured is a big blow to the Baltimore Ravens, but not a big blow if Ronnie Staley and Marcus Peters is able to play this game. Then essentially it's the guys they replaced are coming back in, and no harm, no foul. So now we're going to jump into the 5 things that the Miami Dolphins need to do to beat the Baltimore Ravens, and this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a really tough game. It's a different atmosphere than last year's Thursday night game. Different teams. Dolphins a little bit better. Ravens could be a little bit better. So we're going to jump into this. The number one thing, and again, these are not in importance. It's kind of just how I write them when I'm thinking about the game and breaking down what the Ravens did. But the number one thing on my list is to contain Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson uses his legs. He's incredibly fast to, extend the plays. If you remember last year, what the Dolphins did is they sent zero blitz at him a lot. They contained him in the pocket. They got after him. And if you keep him in the pocket, you contain him. You limit his mobility. You limit him from getting out of the pocket, extending the plays, letting the plays break down. It's hard for corners to constantly cover. Wide receivers when the play breaks down, and then all of a sudden it's a free for all. So we got to contain Lamar Jackson, especially on third and shorts or third downs in general. Don't let him become that guy who's just going to start running for first. Dolphins have a history of having a tough time against these mobile quarterbacks. Play like you did last year, but somewhat. Again, I will get to that when I give you my prediction. The number 2 thing, we got to stop the run. If we're not also stopping Lamar, we have to stop their run with J.K. Dobbins. The beginning of last Sunday's game, the Dolphins had a hard time stopping the run. They had a hard time making the proper tackles. They made some adjustments. The Patriots had a hard time essentially moving at all, and the Dolphin defense took over and helped the Dolphin offense, who only scored 13 points, end up winning that game. Got to do the same thing. If you start to realize that one thing's not working, make your adjustments on defense and shut down the run and also contain Lamar Jackson. Number 3 thing the Miami Dolphins need to do if they want to beat this Baltimore Ravens team, we need a more consistent Tua. I said in the post game, in the live stream, and in my film breakdown, the game against the Patriots, Tua didn't have a bad game, but he necessarily didn't have a good/great game, right? He had an okay game. He had a game where the Dolphins were able to win. He had a good passer rating, good, no interceptions, good, passing yards, all that stuff. But when you're facing teams like the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Chargers, all these types of teams, you need to have your quarterback play at that high level, especially if you realize that all of a sudden, oh crap, you're in a shootout. Essentially meaning their offense is scoring, you're scoring. Neither defense is able to stop neither's offense. We need that high level from Tua. We need Tua to make the plays we know he can make. We need Tua to do the things we know he can do. And that is the most frustrating thing for me as a Miami Dolphin fan is I've seen our quarterback do the things that I've seen him not do last week against the Patriots. The one play where he rolls out to his left, he throws the ball, and it literally lands at the receiver's feet. Go watch his rookie year tape. We've seen this man roll out to his left and throw darts because that's actually his bread and butter, is to get him out of the pocket and move him. So we need a more consistent Tua. We need that high-level Tua that we've seen. The number 4 thing the Miami Dolphins need to do to beat this Baltimore Ravens team, better O-line play. Now, it doesn't necessarily all have to do with the quarterback play, right? Because we've seen consistent pressure and we've seen some free blitzers coming in, not only through the middle, but through that right side. And being that, Teron Armstead, he got a little banged up with his toe, and we're probably not going to see Austin Jackson with an ankle injury. We need better O-line play, but it's not just about the quarterback. We've seen what Edmonds and Mostert could do when you give them lanes. We've seen them, especially late in the game last week, where they were able to find the lanes, they were able to get the first down, and we were able, eat up 5 minutes of the clock and take a knee and win the game. O-line play has to do better, again, not only in the passing game, but in the run game. Need to step up a little bit more, especially against this Baltimore Ravens team, where we need to consistently be on the field, consistently score points to either match what they're doing or overtake what they're doing if our defense steps up and does their thing. And the last thing on my list for things that Miami Dolphins need to do to beat the Baltimore Ravens, no mistakes. Again, this might be a shootout. This might be a game where both offenses are going back and forth scoring. We need to have no mistakes. No interceptions, no fumbles, no giving the offense more time on the field on 3rd and longs because you missed a tackle or you had a holding call or you pass interference in the offense. No high snaps, make the throws, catch the ball, no fumbles. This is a game. This game and next week's game against the Bills are really going to set what this season's going to look like, in my opinion. The Baltimore Ravens and the Bills are teams that are going to be tough, really tough, and probably some of the toughest that we're going to face this season. Cincinnati is, if I had to say toughness scale, they're probably kind of in the middle. They're not too tough, but they're not an easy team. I saw what they did against the Steelers. I saw the amount of turnovers that Joe Burrow caused, and I think our defense could feed off of that. But these 2 games are incredibly important to set the standard of what the season's going to look like. Beating the Patriots was fun. 20-7 was fun. But the Patriots, going into the season, they had no wide receivers, no corners. It was fun, and it set a precedent because Bill Belichick, but these next two games to me are what needs to be set for the season. So no mistakes there. So that being said, going to go into my little spiel about who I think is going to win this game. The Miami Dolphins are 1-4 all time in Baltimore. The last time the Miami Dolphins won in Baltimore was October 19th of 1997, when Dan Marino was our quarterback. And I think the Baltimore Ravens just became an actual NFL football team, going from being the Cleveland Browns. All time against the Baltimore Ravens, the Miami Dolphins are 7-10. For the longest time, Baltimore tends to punch us in the mouth. They are the big bad bully of the NFL to the Miami Dolphins. So every time we face them, I'm like, oh, Jesus. Even last year, if you notice, no one had the Dolphins beating Baltimore last year on Thursday Night Football, and the Dolphins embarrassed the Baltimore Ravens, sending the zero blitz. Now, again, I'm pretty sure Baltimore watched that film, and Harbaugh was like, we can't let this happen again. They, controlled the game, second win of their season, blah, 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 this, and that. So I don't think the zero blitz necessarily is going to be as effective as it was last year. I'm pretty sure they're going to be prepared for it. Not saying the Dolphins won't do it, but I don't think it's going to be as important. Hopefully Trey Flowers is active and can help the defensive pass rushing rotation with him, Melvin Ingram, Agba, and Jalen Phillips. This game worries me. And if you were on Reason's channel when he did his season preview, I picked the Dolphins to lose this game. I picked the Dolphins to go 11-5, 11-6, and 11-6, 12-5. And this was one of the games that I thought they would lose. And for me, it was a tight decision because of them playing in Baltimore. And the Dolphins have only won once in Baltimore. And can they win this game? Yes, 100%. I think that the defense, again, if they're able to, 5 reasons, contain Lamar, I think the Dolphins will definitely win this game. It all comes down to what the Dolphin defense does against Lamar and the type of Tua we're going to get. That being said, I think it's going to be an incredibly close game. I'm going to have to give the edge. See, my heart wants to say to Miami Dolphins, right? I want the Miami Dolphins to win. I think the Dolphins can win. But my brain and my unbiasedness and my football knowledge thinks that the Baltimore Ravens are going to eke this one out in a 24-21 win. I'll give you this. This is my prediction for this game. If the Miami Dolphins contain Lamar Jackson, and if Tua plays at a higher level and more consistent than he did last week, the Dolphins will win. I think the Dolphins will win. Last week, I gave you guys a 24-17 win. They ended up 27. I think if the Dolphins do the things I said, I think they'll win by a touchdown. Again, 24-17, 27-20. I think they'll win by a touchdown. If the Dolphins have a hard time containing Lamar Jackson and Tua is still struggling in certain aspects of his game and the new offense, I think that the Ravens will win 24-21. So there's my prediction. A lot of things have to go right for the Dolphins to win. Not necessarily a lot. And some things have to go wrong for them to lose. So be sure to comment below. Let me know what you guys think about this game. What are your 5 things? Baltimore, what's your thoughts on this game? Comment below. And I'm going to get to comment of the day. And it's sad that I have to get to comment of the day. It's sad that at this point I have to do this. And a lot of people say, why do you feed into the trolls, or why do you feed into this? It's not me feeding into people. It's more me answering questions I get in the comment section, Twitter, emails, all that stuff. Because people ask me questions, or people are misunderstanding or whatever English is with the situation. And it's the whole quote from Tua Tagovailoa about being a short quarterback. And some people are taking it, running with it because it fits their narrative. Others are trying to defend it. I'm going to read it to you because, again, yesterday's video, I didn't necessarily read it to you. I'm going to read it to you, and then I have a quote from somebody else that I find very interesting, right? So this is what Tua had to say. The question that was asked to him was, what does practice actually do for Sunday? Like, what can you get better at these 2 days that can actually help you Sunday? So they want to know, what does practice actually do for you on Sunday? What during these days can you do to get better for Sunday? He goes, yeah, I mean, you want the way you practice to translate to how you play in the games. And so that's why we work on a lot of timing. We work on a lot where guys need to be, and for me, we work on a lot where guys need to be. And for me, for instance, if we have a slant and we have an over the ball player, another player in the alley, and a flat for me, I can't see because I'm not the biggest guy out there. So if I can't see you, you can't see me, I can't get you the ball. And spacing with these guys. If you can't see me, get somewhere where you can see me, then I can see you, then I can hit you. And then even within our walkthroughs, that's kind of what I use practice for. So essentially he's saying he's not the tallest guy. He's 6 foot, 6'1". Someone said 5'11". No, Google's a thing. 6 foot, 6'1". He's in between those numbers. He's not 5'11". He's tall. He's same height, I think, as Drew Brees. He's a little bit taller than Russell Wilson. But he's short. He's a short quarterback. He's not the tallest quarterback in the world. So essentially what they asked him, again, what do you practice? What does practice actually do for you on a Sunday? Like, what do these 2 days help you on Sunday? He's saying help with his passing lanes. If it's a slant, if it's slant or in the flat, for me, he's not the biggest guy. So if he's throwing it over the middle, get in the lane. Or he's going to throw it, again, if you remember what Rick had to say, Tua is elite at his anticipation and his accuracy. So if you go back, again, that touchdown pass to Jalen Waddle was over the middle, where he's saying, again, a lot of people are like, they're taking his quote and saying, he just admitted he can't see over the line and he can't see people down the field. That's not what he said. He literally gave the example of in the flat or over the ball players, over the middle. So a lot of people are like, well, this is what he means when he can't see down the field. And then again, I could pop up instances of him making passes down the field that are just ridiculous. And the touchdown pass to Jalen Waddle was over the middle. Essentially, again, what he talks about here was what he works on in practice to help him in the game, and that's his passing lanes. That's getting continuity and familiarity with his receivers on where to be in the passing lanes. He's not the tallest guy. That's what he's saying. I'm not the tallest guy, so that's that. A quote I want to read you. This is a quote I want to read you. Doug Flutie told me once that he went back and did something with his high school where he kind of stood behind those guys. And he said he was amazed at how much he could see standing behind the high school line compared to an NFL line. He's like, you just wouldn't believe it. So I guess it's kind of like when you get in the big trucks that's jacked up and you're sitting kind of high above everyone, you're like, man, this is a good vantage point. Then you get back down to a sports car, you're hugging the road, everyone just seems like they're on top of you. It's probably getting some perspective that way, but I don't know any other way. I'm not going to grow anymore, so I really don't care. Can you guess who that quote is from? Talks about Doug Flutie, had a conversation with him. He essentially talks about how his offensive line is big, he's not going to grow, and he has a hard time seeing over the offensive line. So he essentially does the same thing that Tua Tagovailoa does in practice, where he works on his passing lanes. Can you guess who that quote is from? It's from Drew Brees when he was teammates with Doug Flutie on the Chargers. That was the conversation he had with him. That Doug Flutie went back to his high school and was behind that offensive line. He was like, I could see everything. I could do whatever I want. And Drew Brees agreed. And then he came back to the NFL and he got these big guys in front of you. It's hard to see. But I don't know any other way. I'm not going to grow anymore, so I really don't care. What did Tua Tagovailoa say? So if you can't see me, get somewhere to where I can see you, then I can see you, then I can't see because I'm not the biggest guy out there. Dude, they both admitted the same thing, but the difference is Tua's quote is getting blown out of proportion. The thing I'd love for Tua to do is not be so honest. Just say, what do practice look like on Sundays, and what do you working on continuity with my wide receivers, working on timing with my wide receivers and the offensive line. That's what I work on. Boom. Leave it there. Because if you're honest like this, if you talk about particular things that you work on for Sunday's games, and you get a little too honest talking about the fact that you work on timing and you work at your throwing lanes, people are going to take that and they're going to blow it out of proportion and make it into something that is not. Because obviously, people have said he's literally giving the opposing defense a way to beat him. If the opposing defensive coordinator didn't realize that Tua is 6 foot and the way to beat him is have your defensive line put their hands up in his passing lanes, then that defensive coordinator should not have a job, because it's pretty obvious. It's like saying, oh, we're facing Kyler Murray this week. Man, I hope his height doesn't affect it. This is duh things. These are obvious things. Tua is saying I'm short, so I work on my passing lanes during practice because sometimes I can't see them. Duh. I don't understand why this is being blown out of proportion. This is an obvious thing. Everyone and their mother knows it. The man's 6 foot. Why is this new? Why are people blowing this out of proportion? It is dumb. The fact that I have to talk about this, the fact that I have to show you a quote from a guy who is the same height, if not an inch shorter than Tua, is dumb. It's dumb. Who cares? If he goes out Sunday and he plays well and the Dolphins win and he doesn't cause a turnover, I'm happy. Keep doing better. Every next game, do better than your last one. Keep winning, and I'm happy. Stop blowing things out of proportion, people. We won last week, and we're really sitting here scrutinizing and taking a short clip of his full quote to fit your, narrative. Stop. Just stop. Well, Doug, you're 2 and ear. You're 2 and on. See how you're defending him? Yes, because it's a stupid take. And I have to do this now because so many people have asked me to do it, and so many people are not understanding what the quote means. I'll see you guys on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Gonna be here. I have to finish up the studio. Look at the empty space right here. And right here on the shelf. Hold on. Right here on the shelf. I gotta finish up the studio so I can give you guys a studio tour and all that good stuff. But I love you all. Every single one of you. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Like usual, stay classy. And fins up.